If you want a clean salary negotiation, start with the market data, not your feelings. I'd check at least 3 sources: Levels 2i, Glassdoor, and recent recruiter outreach. Then I'd compare by level, location, and company stage, because a senior engineer at a 20-person startup can mean something very different from a senior engineer at a big public company.
Yeah, and ignore the nonsense numbers people throw around at parties. Half of them are either lowballing themselves or inflating for the story.
Exactly. Also, look for current data, not last year's spreadsheet some guy posted on Reddit after 2 IPS. If you can, talk to peers in similar stacks and markets. Back-end engineer in Austin is not the same as front-end in San Francisco.
I'd also search job postings with salary ranges. Annoyingly useful. Even when they're vague, they anchor the conversation.
Right. And if the range is huge, that tells you something too. It means your leverage is improving where you fit inside it. Once you know the market, the next thing is making your case feel measurable. The strongest negotiations I've seen went, I worked hard. They were, I reduced onboarding time by 30%, or I cut incident response from 45 minutes to 12. Numbers make it easier for the other side to justify paying you more.
I'm usually bad at that part until I write it down. Then it's like, oh, I did do stuff besides survive meetings.
Exactly. Pull from shipped features, revenue impact, cost savings, reliability, speed, whatever fits your role. Even if you don't own a direct business metric, you can quantify scope, team size, system traffic, number of users affected, sprint cycle improvements.
And achievements need context. Built a service sounds average. Built a service that handled 10x peak traffic without another outage sounds like a reason to call HR back.
Right, and keep a brag doc. Seriously. Future you will forget half of it, and negotiation is not the time to improvise your own resume, while a recruiter waits politely on the other end. Once you've got the metrics, you can decide what exactly to push on. Salary is the cleanest lever, but is not always the best one. If the base is close to your target, I'd look at signing bonus, annual bonus, equity, or even perks like remote flexibility, conference budget, or a better title if that matters for the next move.
Title feels silly until you need it. Then suddenly, senior is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It is, a little. Equity can be especially useful if the company is early and cash is tight, but you have to be realistic about risk. A bigger equity grant sounds great, until you realize dilution is a very expensive word.
I'd ask for bonuses when base is capped. Easier to get a one-time bump than a permanent one if they're being stubborn.
Yes, and perks can fill real gaps. If they won't move on pay, maybe they'll move on vacation, home office stipends, or more flexibility around on-call. The key is knowing what matters most to you before they start tossing shiny alternatives around like free pretzels. If the first offer comes in low, the worst move is sounding insulted. You want to treat it like a data point, not a personal attack. Something like, I appreciate the offer. Based on my research and the scope we discussed, I was expecting something closer to X.
So no dramatic pause, then immediately lighting the brewery on fire. Got it.
Please don't. Keep it calm and specific. If you can, point back to the value you bring. The systems you've owned, the problems you've solved, the market range you've seen. That makes it easier for them to revise without feeling cornered.
And if they say it's their standard package?
Then ask what's flexible. Sometimes base isn't, but bonus, equity, sign-on, or review timing is. I'd also ask whether they can share the compensation band for the role. You learn a lot from how they answer that.
Fair. And I found the people who go low first are often expecting a counter anyway.
Exactly. If you stay professional, you keep the door open, and you also get to see whether they're being conservative or just disrespectful. Raises during performance reviews are a little different, because you're negotiating inside an existing relationship, not opening a fresh deal. That means timing and framing matter. I'd start a few weeks early on the review itself with a simple note. I'd like to discuss compensation as part of this cycle, and I've been documenting my impact.
So don't wait until the manager says, "Any questions?" and then try to improvise a salary argument. That seems risky.
Very risky. Bring evidence tied to the review period. Goals met, projects shipped, feedback from stakeholders, anything that shows increased scope or stronger performance. If you took on more responsibility than your level, say that plainly.
And if the company has a cycle with fixed budgets?
Then ask what would justify a larger adjustment, and whether there's a timeline for a second look. If the answer is vague, that's useful information too. You can also ask for a promotion path if the raise ceiling is tight.
I guess the trick is sounding collaborative, not like you're presenting a hostile audit.
Exactly. It's here's why this is the right time, not here's a court exhibit. Location changes the math more than people want to admit. A remote role at a company with a strict geo-adjusted pay policy can come in lower than the same title in a major hub. So, when you're comparing offers, you have to ask whether they pay based on your home city, the company's HQ, or a national band.
Which is always fun to discover after you've already mentally spent the money. Very healthy behavior.
Also true for remote work itself. Some companies pay a premium for fully remote talent because they're competing nationally. Others discount it because they think flexibility is the compensation. You want to know which camp they're in before you negotiate.
And the commute math matters too. If they want you hybrid in a city with rent that looks like a hostage note, that should count.
Absolutely. I'd factor in cost of living, taxes, and hidden expenses like childcare, transport, or even a second workspace. A lower nominal salary can still be better if the overall package and lifestyle fit are stronger.
So really, you're not comparing just salary. You're comparing where your life is happening.
Exactly. And if they try to sell you sunlight and flexibility as equivalent to cash, you can smile and still ask for both.